Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yes, Prabhu, you can continue. If you have Kartal, you can use Kartal.
Anyone can continue with me, Prabhuji?
Yes, Prabhu, I will repeat.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Nitai Gauranga, Jai Nitai Gauranga, Jai Nitai Gauranga, Jai Nitai Gauranga.
Jaya Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Nitai Gauranga, Jaya Nitai Gauranga.
Jaya Radharani, Jaya Krishna Radharani, Jaya Krishna Radharani, Jaya Krishna Radharani, Jaya Krishna Radharani.
Jaya Radha Krishna, Jaya Radha Krishna, Radha Krishna, Jaya Radha Krishna, Jaya Jaya
Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Hari Nam Sankirtan ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Hare Nam Sankirtan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Thank you, Anshuman Prabhu. Thank you for the nice kirtan.
Prabhu, you are able to hear me?
Yes, Prabhu. Sukinath Prabhu.
Oh, okay. Prabhu, 15 minutes I can do Acharya's kirtan, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. I don't know, my video is not visible. Okay, I will let me sing parallelly and let me try to connect video. I don't know why it is not appearing. Namago Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine नमः ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। नमस्ते
नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यादेशतारिणे।
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा।
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा।
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा।
जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा।
Prabhu, I can start from Yashomati Nandana.
यस प्रभु।
Okay. यशोमती नंदन ब्रज परमागर गोकुल रंजन कान्हा। यशोमती नंदन ब्रज परमागर गोकुल रंजन कान्हा। गोपी धन मदन मनोहर कालिय धमन विधाना। गोपी धन मदन मनोहर कालिय धमन विधाना। अमल हरि नाम अमिय विलासा अमल हरि नाम अमिय विलासा। विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर वर विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर वर वंशी वदन सुभाषा वंशी वदन सुभाषा। ब्रजजन पालन असुर कुल नाशन ब्रजजन पालन असुर कुल नाशन। नंद गोधन कोवाना नंद गोधन कोवाना। गोविंद माधव नवनीत तास्कर गोविंद माधव नवनीत तास्कर। सुंदर नंद गोपाला सुंदर नंद गोपाला। यमुना तट चरण गोपी बसन हर यमुना तट चर गोपी बसन हर। रस रसिक कृप मोया रस रसिक कृप मोया। श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नट भर श्री राधा वल्लभ वृंदावन नट भर। भक्ति विनोदाश्रया भक्ति विनोदाश्रया। यशोमती नंदन ब्रज परनागर गोकुल रंजन कान्हा। गोपी धन मदन मनोहर कालिय धमन विधाना कालिय धमन विधाना। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय राधा माधव राधे। जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा जय प्रभुपादा परम करुणा बहुदुये जना निताय गौरचंद्र परम करुणा बहुदुये जना निताय गौरचंद्र सब अवतार सार शिरोमणि केवल आनंद कंधा सब अवतार सार शिरोमणि केवल आनंद कंधा भजो भजो भाई चैतन्य निताय सुकृत भीष्म शकोरी भजो भजो भाई चैतन्य निताय सुकृत भीष्म शकोरी विषय छाड़िया सेरा से माजिया मुखे बोलो हरि हरि विषय छाड़िया सेरा से माजिया मुखे बोलो हरि हरि देखो ओरे भाई त्रिभुवने नाय ये मन धुन्याल दाता देखो ओरे भाई त्रिभुवने नाय ये मन धुन्याल दाता पशु पाखी झुरे पाषाण विधारे सुनी जन रघुन गाथा पशु पाखी झुरे पाषाण विधारे सुनी जन रघुन गाथा संसार मजिया रोहिली पोरिया से पदे अहिलो आशा संसार मजिया रोहिली पोरिया से पदे नहिलो आशा अपन कर्म मुंजय सामना कहो ये लोचन दासा अपन कर्म मुंजय सामना कहो ये लोचन दासा परम करुणा बहुदुये जना निताय गौरचंद्र परम करुणा बहुदुये जना निताय गौरचंद्र सब अवतार सार शिरोमणि केवल आनंद कंधा सब अवतार सार शिरोमणि केवल आनंद कंधा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया कर मोरे श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु दया कर मोरे तुम बिना के दयालु जगत संसारे तुम बिना के दयालु जगत संसारे पतित पावना तब अवतार पतित पावना हेतु तब अवतार मोसम पतिता प्रभु न पाइबे आहारा मोसम पतिता प्रभु न पाइबे आहारा आहा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी आहा प्रभु नित्यानंद प्रेमानंद सुखी कृपा बोलो हन करो आमी बोलूकी कृपा बोलो कान करो आमी भोर दुखी दोन्या तोर सीतापति अद्वैत गोसाई दोया तोर सीतापति अद्वैत घोषाई तव कृपा भले पाई चैतन्य निताई तव कृपा भले पाई चैतन्य निताई स्वरूप सनातन परगुणाता स्वरूप सनातन रूप रघुनाथा पट जुग श्री जीव प्रभु लोकनाथा पट जुग श्री जीव प्रभु लोकनाथा दोया कोरसी आचार्य प्रभु श्रीनिवास दोया कोरसी आचार्य रामचंद्र संज्ञा
ना जाओ भाई साहब फोन लेके जा रहे हैं
जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानित्यानंद 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 Next song, Hari Haraya Nama Krishna. Only we will sing 4 or 5 verses. No, not this one. Why it is not there? Okay. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन गिरिधर गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन गिरिधर गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत शीता श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत शीता हरि गुरु वैष्णव भागवत गीता हरि गुरु वैष्णव भागवत गीता श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथा श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथा श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथा श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथा हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे हरे जय राधा माधव राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा सुभद्रा देवी जय सुदर्शना जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद हरे नाम संकीर्तन के जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय राधा माधव की जय Hare Krishna, we can take over from now.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Sukhijananda Prabhu, for wonderful Kirtan and melodious Kirtan.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Now we have Bhagavad Gita class by His Grace Giridhar Gopal Prabhu. Thank you, Giridhar Prabhu, for joining, and over to you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, you are muted. Giridhar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. We will start with the Kirtan. We'll just do 2-3 minutes Kirtan and then we'll get started. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschyata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Krishna Chandra Radha Krishna Chandra Radhe Jaya Radha Krishna Chandra Radha Krishna Chandra Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Subhadramai Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Jagannatha Jaya Baladeva Subhadramai Jaya Sudarshana Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Ananta Dev, Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Ananta Dev. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Hare Krishna. We'll start the session. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Let me share my screen. So today we are going to discuss the verse 9.15 from the Bhagavad Gita. Okay. Jnana yagyena chapya anye, Jnana yagyena chapya anye, yajanto mam upasate, ekatvena prathaktvena bahuda vishvato mukham. Jnana yagnena chapya anye, yajanto mam upasate, ekatvena prathaktvena bahuda vishvato mukham. Jnana yagnena chapyanne yajanto mam upasate ekatvena prathaktvena bahuda vishvato mukham. Word by word translation. Jnana yagnena, by cultivation of knowledge. Cha, also. Api, certainly. Anye, others. Yajanta, sacrificing. Mam, me. Upasate, worship. Ekatvena, in oneness. Prathaktvena, in duality. Bahuda, in diversity. Vishwataha mukham, and in the universal form. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Others who engage in sacrifice by the cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. I'll read it one more time. Translation. Others who engage in sacrifice by cultivation of knowledge worship the Supreme Lord as the one without a second, as diverse in many and in the universal form. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This verse is the summary of the previous verses. The Lord tells Arjuna that those who are purely in Krishna consciousness and do not know anything other than Krishna are called Mahatma. Yet there are other persons who are not exactly in the same position of Mahatma, but who worship Krishna also in different ways. Some of them have already been described as the distressed, the financially destitute, the inquisitive, and those who are engaged in the cultivation of knowledge. But there are others who are still lower, and these are divided into three. He who worships himself as one with the Supreme Lord. He who concocts some form of the Supreme Lord and worships that. And he who accepts the universal form, the Vishwarupa of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and worships that. Out of the above three, the lowest, those who worship themselves as the Supreme Lord, thinking themselves to be monoist, are the most predominant. Such people think themselves to be the Supreme Lord, and in this mentality, they worship themselves. This is also a type of God worship, for they can understand that they are not the material body, but are actually the spirit soul. Spirit soul, at least such a sense is prominent. Generally, the impersonalists worship the Supreme Lord in this way. The second class of worshippers include the worshippers of demigods, those who by imagination consider any form to be the form of the Supreme Lord. And the third class includes those who cannot conceive of anything beyond the manifestation of this material universe. They consider the universe to be the supreme organism or entity and worship that. The universe is also the form of the Lord. Okay. We'll offer the Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanaatimirandasya Jnananjala Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatharine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I welcome you all to this session, Sunday evening session of Bhagavad Gita. So thank you for joining. So today we are going to discuss the verse from chapter number 9, and the verse is shloka number 15. So this verse, Jnana Yagnena Chapyanne Yajanto Mam Upasate Ekatvena Prataktvena Bahuda Vishwato Mukham. So this is continuation from the previous verses, and we'll discuss this. So this is a little technical verse. So today it's going to be mostly philosophy. I will try to include a couple of examples in between, but it's going to be mostly philosophy. So please do bear with me. Okay. So basically what we'll do right now is we'll start with the we'll just start with the summary of the verses that we have considered so far. So we have discussed in this chapter. So from we have done from shloka number 1 till shloka number 14 in the previous sessions. So I will just give you a quick summary of this 14 shlokas so that I can set the context for discussing today's shloka. Okay, so chapter number 9. So basically chapter number 9, verse number 1, 2, 3, it talks about the importance of hearing and more importantly, the cultivation of faith. Okay, Ashraddha Dana Purusha. So if you see 9.3, it says Ashraddha Dana Purusha. So more importantly, cultivation of faith. Then chapter number 9, verse 4 to 10, it deals with Krishna's relationship with the material world. So verse 4 to 10 deals with Krishna's relationship with the material world. He's showing his supremacy with respect to the material world. And by that, he's kind of, inspiring the materialist to worship him. Okay. And in this verse, there is a verse 9.10, which is a very famous verse and very important verse. And that is Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sa Characharam Hetunanena Kaunteya Jagat Vipari Vartate. So basically here Krishna explains that the entire material nature is working under his superintendence. So those who are attracted by the material nature and the phenomena that they see in the material world, basically he is trying to inspire them to come to him by declaring that he is the superintendent of Prakriti. He is the superintendent of Prakriti. Prakriti works under him. So he's trying to inspire the materialistic by saying that, okay, material nature works under my orders, under my superintendence. So he's trying to establish his superiority and trying to inspire all the materialists to come and worship him. Okay, verse number 11 to 15, and 15th verse is what we are discussing today. So verse number 11 to 14 or 15, what we are going to discuss today, basically deals with the different levels of worshippers. So different levels of worshippers according to their propensity to surrender to Krishna. So verse number 11 describes that Krishna is fully spiritual, and verse number 12 says that the hardcore materialist who cannot appreciate this transcendental nature, his transcendental nature is kind of doomed to failure. Right? That verse number 12 is also a very important verse, and it says that materialists basically who do not appreciate his transcendental nature and think him to be an ordinary person are doomed for failure. Okay, so basically, just to explain this verse number 12 in a little bit of extra detail. So we'll take two examples from Mahabharata. So most of the people, there are many people in this world basically who think that Krishna is an ordinary person. Krishna is a politician. Krishna is very shrewd, cunning, and all that. But they do not accept him as the God. They think him as the ordinary person, right? So let's see. Let's take two characters in Mahabharata and try to see how Krishna has been is related to that, and how ordinary people think of Krishna in relation to these two characters. So the first character we can talk about is that of Karna, and the second character that we'll talk about is of Bhishma. So basically Karna is a personality which is an enigma kind of a thing to ordinary layman, those who are not devotees. So most of them think that, Karna is kind of equal to Arjuna, and Karna is even better than Arjuna. So this is the general concept that is there in the mind of people in this world. Okay, and they think that Krishna has discriminated against Karna, and Krishna was partial to Arjuna and favored Arjuna in an unjustified manner. Even when Karna was killed, he was killed in an unjustified manner, right? So these are all the information that we can read from the Shastras. In the Mahabharata, the entire story of Karna is given. But people look at this story at a high level, and then they try to make their own judgments. They try to do some mental speculation, and they come to the conclusion that Krishna has done injustice. Krishna was partial to Arjuna, and Karna was discriminated against, right? So this is all the general conception, and that is why we stress upon the importance of understanding the Shastras. If we understand the Shastras, then we can understand Krishna better. And how to understand the Shastras? We have to understand the Shastras by reading from the devotees, right? So we have to understand the Shastras from our Acharyas. We have to understand the Shastras from our disciplic succession. We have to sit with our devotees and read the purports of the Shastras. If we don't do all these things, then we will also do just mental speculation and understand what is given just based on our superficial layman material knowledge. And we will also come to the conclusion that Karna was discriminated, right? And Krishna is an ordinary being. So that is the conclusion that will come to. So let us see what our acharyas and shastras tell about Karna, so that things will become more clear. So basically, Karna in his earlier life. So basically, Karna, let's see the life the past life of Karna. Okay, in the present life, as described in Mahabharata, Karna was basically gifted to Kunti by the sun god as a progeny. So the question comes, how does Karna get the lineage of sun god Vivaswan, right? So how does he get the lineage? So there is a story which deals with Karna's past life. In his past life, Karna was actually a demon, and his name was Sahasra Kavach. Sahasra means 1000 and Kavach means armor. So Sahasra Kavach means the demon who has 1000 shields of protective armor on himself. Okay, so that is what he was. He was a demon named Sahasra Kavach, 1000, and he had a 1000 shield of protective armor protecting himself. And then there is a story of Nara Narayana Rishi. So as the demon mentality, Sahasra Kavach basically engages in the duel with Nara Narayan Rishis. So here Nara, who is Nara? Nara is Arjuna. So in his past life, Arjuna was Nara, and Narayana is Krishna. So there is a fight between Sahasra Kavach and Nara Narayan Rishi. Okay, and what happens in this fight? So turn by turn, Nara and Narayana will fight with Sahasra Kavach, and they will dislodge his 999 armors. Okay, then he is left with only one armor, and ultimately he is vanquished. Nara Narayan Rishi will vanquish him. But the Sahasra Kavach, basically he will go and take shelter of the sun god. And that is how he comes from the sun planet, in the lineage of the sun. Okay, and because he's but he still has his demonic nature. See, he was a demon. He takes shelter of the, even though if he takes shelter of the sun god, he had the demonic mentality. So in the next birth, he's born as Karna, and he has one kavach left on his body. So now Krishna, basically, who knows the past, present, and future, is continuing from where he had left. So most of the people ignore this fact. Krishna, since he is the Supreme Lord, he knows everyone's past, present, and future. And based on his past karmas, so Karna was, whatever happened to Karna in Mahabharata is justified. So now in this life, again, Karna had his demonic qualities, and again he took the side of Duryodhana. Okay, and Krishna knew how to deal with him, and that is what has happened in Mahabharata. Okay, so basically, demon is one who defies the authority of God, and God is one who establishes his authority and maintains peace and order. So therefore, it was the duty of Krishna to put Karna in his place. So when we start looking at this entire episode from this larger perspective, then basically we begin to understand whatever the way in which Karna was dealt by Krishna is the most appropriate way. Therefore, it is essential that we get the purports of the acharyas, we get the guidance from the disciplic succession, and then try to understand the topics that have been dealt in the Shastras, and then the picture becomes very clear. The same Mahabharata, the same Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is telling multiple times, I am the Supreme Lord, I am the Supreme Lord, I am the Supreme Lord. There are so many rishis who are accepting Krishna as the Supreme Lord. But still the same Mahabharata, when an ordinary materialistic person reads it, he still considers Krishna to be an ordinary person. But when devotees read it under the guidance of acharyas and in the association of devotees, things become more clear, and the real and Krishna's real nature is known, right? So that is the difference. So that is why, if you see, most of our everyone, if you see in the devotee community or in most of the purports of Srila Prabhupada, it is mentioned that you have to read the Shastras in the association of devotees, because that is when things will become more clear. The Shastras can be interpreted in multiple ways. There are some people who can do some mental speculation and interpret in some wrong ways. So we have to be aware of that one. Okay, so let's take the similar example of Bhishma, who is also an enigmatic personality of Mahabharata, in the sense that there are many open questions that ordinary materialistic people have. So the first question is like, why did Bhishma, since he was follower of Dharma, why did he take the position against the Supreme Lord? Okay, so on one hand, we say that Bhishma Dev is a great devotee and a follower of Dharma, but then why did he take the position against the Supreme Lord in the Mahabharata war? So this is one question that, everyone are curious to know. So let's see. So basically, Bhishma Dev and Krishna have an important principle to demonstrate here. So what is that principle? So that principle is like, no matter, so Bhishma Dev was at that point of time the most powerful person. Nobody could conquer him. He was unconquerable. He was the most powerful person. And Duryodhan took pride in stating that Bhishma Dev was on their side. In the beginning, in the first chapter of Mahabharata, he mentions that the power of the Kaurava army, very well guarded by Bhishma Dev, led by Bhishma Dev, is very strong compared to the Pandavas, right? So Duryodhan also took pride that Bhishma was on their side. So Bhishma was such a personality. He was a follower of Dharma. He was so powerful that nobody could defeat him. Single-handedly, he could have won the Mahabharata war. He could have defeated everyone and won the Mahabharata war. But the question remains, why did he take stand against Lord Krishna, right? So here, the Lord Krishna and his devotee Bhishma, they wanted to demonstrate an important principle. What was that principle? The principle is that no matter how powerful you are, no matter how talented you are, no matter how great you are, but if you are not obeying the instructions of the Lord, and if you try to defy the authority of the Lord, you are sure to be vanquished. So Bhishma is demonstrating this principle. So no matter how powerful one is, if one does not submit to the will of the Lord, if one tries to oppose the Lord, his strength will become zero, will come to naught. So to demonstrate this, it needed a great personality to uphold such a role, and hence Bhishma Dev was a fit person to discharge such a role, right? So when you see Bhishma Dev in this context, then everything becomes very clear. And then in Srimad Bhagavatam, the glorious passing away of Bhishma Dev in front of the Lord Krishna is mentioned, right? So the relationship between the Lord and the devotee in this particular scenario was in the mode of Virya Ras. Okay. So so in the 12th verse, it is described that people who think of Krishna as an ordinary human being, okay, they are doomed for failure. So we just took two examples. I mean, we just try to understand two characters, and then we try to understand how ordinary people think about it. So if the ordinary people do not have the full background, and that's why they speculate and they misjudge the person or the personality, and similarly they misjudge the personality of Supreme Lord as well, and then they are doomed for failure. Okay, moving on to verse number 13 and 14. Basically, this describes those who fully accept the supremacy of the Lord. So verse number 13 and 14. So 14 was discussed in the previous session. And I think Aparajit Prabhu and Vasudev Pran Prabhu have given wonderful class on this in the last two sessions. So 13 and 14 describe those who are fully surrendered to the Lord, and they are called as Mahatmas. So it describes and defines who is a Mahatma. Okay, so I will not get into the details of this because this was discussed very nicely. So now we have these categories of devotees. So on one side we have Mahatma, and what is the opposite of Mahatma? So the opposite Mahatmas are one who are fully surrendered. So, and what is the opposite of Mahatma? The opposite of Mahatma is Duratma. Okay, so on one side we have the Mahatmas who are topmost devotees, and the other side we have Duratma who are basically who oppose the authority of the Lord. They are hardcore materialistic. Okay, and in verse number 15, the verse for today, the shloka of today, Krishna is categorizing other devotees. So these other devotees who are not in the extreme ends, they are neither a Mahatma nor a Duratma, but somewhere in between. So the verse that we are studying today, in this, Krishna is categorizing the devotees between the Mahatma and Duratma. So these devotees lie between Mahatma and Duratma. So let us analyze this verse for today and see. So this others category, Anya, if you see the shloka, there is a key word called Anya. Okay, it's other category of devotees. So the broad spectrum of people who live in the world come under this category that are described in this verse. So in the purport of this verse, Srila Prabhupada classifies the worshippers of Krishna according to the propensity to surrender to Krishna. So the Mahatmas are the ones who are fully surrendered and fully in Krishna consciousness. Then you have this, after the Mahatmas, if you see the purport, today's purport, you have the category of Sukritinas. So what is Sukritinas? So Sukritinas, there is a shloka in chapter number 7, verse number 16. Okay, it says, Chaturvida bhajante mam janaha Sukritino Arjuna. Artho jignasur artharthi Jnani cha Bharatar Sabha. Okay, so after the Mahatma comes the Sukritinas, and it is described in detail in the chapter 7, verse 16. Chaturvida bhajante mam janaha Sukritino Arjuna. Artho jignasur artharthi Jnani cha Bharatar Sabha. So let us try to, we'll briefly see and analyze these 4 categories which come after the Mahatma. Okay, so Sukriti means one who has pious credits. So Sukriti means pious credit, a person who has pious credit. Okay. So a person who has pious credit is some or the other way, basically will turn to Krishna. But again, these people, as per the shloka, is categorized in 4 different categories. So what are the 4 different categories? So there is this a category of Artharthi. They are those who are seeking wealth. Okay, but the people who, these Artharthis are the persons who are seeking wealth. But even though they are seeking wealth, they prefer to come to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they don't go to anyone else. So this is the one good quality of Artharthi. They are after wealth, but they come to Krishna to get that wealth. Okay, they have the material desires. Okay, they are attached to fruitive activities, and they work, whatever work they do, they expect some benefit in return, right? So when this materially distressed people turn to Krishna and worship him, they are known as Artharthis. Okay. So this is the first category. Then there is another category which is Jignasur. Jignasur means the one who is curious. So those who are basically, there are persons whose curiosity is frustrated and they are inquisitive in nature. So they turn to Krishna to satisfy their inquisitiveness. And when their curiosity is satisfied, they may leave and not remain in Krishna consciousness. So they may go away. There is a chance that they may go away from Krishna consciousness as well. So this is the second category, Jignasu, the curious. Then you have the distressed. Okay. They seek relief from the material world. So material world is a place of misery, as everyone knows. Okay, so there are this category of people who are distressed and they seek relief. For example, right now, Corona pandemic is going on. So people are seeking for relief. People are distressed, and most of them are seeking for relief. So this material world itself is a place of distress, and a lot of people come under this category of distress. However, the one good point about these people is, even though they are distressed, they, instead of turning to mortals, to fellow human beings, to demigods, or to any other authority, they turn to supreme authority Krishna. Okay, and this is their credit. This is their only good thing. Okay, this is why they are called Sukritina. And when they get relief, they are pacified, they may leave Krishna consciousness. So they are distressed. When the distress is resolved, there is a chance that they might leave Krishna consciousness. However, if such a devotee comes, such a person comes in contact with a pure devotee, then they again stand a chance of getting purified and becoming a pure devotee and a Mahatma themselves. Okay, so this category of people distress, they again turn to the Supreme Personality. So that is one good thing. And they, if they come in contact with a pure devotee, there is a chance that they can become a pure devotee. So we saw the three categories. One is the Artho, Jignasur, Artharthi. Okay. Now the fourth category is that of Jnani. So Jnani means they are dry philosophers. Dry philosophers. So Jnani basically are frustrated in knowledge, and they do some mental speculation, and they get frustrated because they not get any result or clarity on anything. Okay, they are more and more confused. So Jnani may come to Krishna consciousness and learn from a pure devotee. However, it's not that simple, because they are used to mental speculation. Okay, so one distinguishing feature of Jnani is that they pose a lot of questions. And this distinguishing feature is not that they pose a lot of questions, but they pose a lot of questions to express their objections. So we have seen very often when we give some classes, there are some category of people who pose a lot of questions. And when we try to give the answer to that, they are not interested in the answer, but they are ready with their next question. And most of their questions are basically posed in such a way. So they will have certain objections, right? So they will pose the question about those objections, and they are not interested in listening to the answer when we try to answer them. So that is the distinguishing features of the Jnani. So it's very difficult. They get more and more confused. They basically put up some mental concoction, and then a lot of mental speculation and analytical thing, and they get more confused. Okay, so Jnanis are basically, there is one example given. So Jnanis are analogy given basically. So Jnanis are like a person who is standing on a seashore. Okay, they want to cross the seashore. So the seashore, let's imagine the seashore is also called as Bhavsagar in Srimad Bhagavatam. So let's say they are like a person. Bhavsagar means ocean of misery. They are standing on the seashore of ocean of misery, and they want to cross the ocean, but their position is such that they don't want to venture into the sea. Okay, they don't want to venture in the sea. They don't want to take the leap of faith by which to cross the ocean of misery. So they don't have the confidence, they don't have the faith, they don't have the strength to take this leap of faith and cross over the ocean. So they stay in the same position where they are. And such people are categorized as dry philosophers or jnanis. And that's why in the Bhagavad Gita it is mentioned, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate. Okay. Vasudev Sarva iti sa Mahatma Su Durlabha. So Bahunam Janmanam Ante. So they have to wait for many years. They have to take birth many times, because they are waiting on the shore. They don't have the leap. They don't have the confidence to take the leap of faith. They cannot surrender to the authority of Krishna. They do not surrender to the will of the Lord. Okay, and they want to hold back to their own intelligence and to their own mental concoction. And basically, this is their disease and this is their infection. And this has been explained in these chapters of Bhagavad Gita from chapter 6 till 12, which is the cream of Bhagavad Gita. Importance of faith is again and again stressed. So by intelligence, one can never reach Krishna. Intelligence is simply a tool to earn your livelihood, but you cannot achieve Krishna based on your intelligence. For that, you need to have Shraddha, take the leap of faith. And what Jnanis lack is this faith. But one good thing is that they can cultivate this faith in connection with a pure devotee, okay, who is endowed with that faith. So if they come in contact with a pure devotee, they can then cultivate the faith. Okay, so in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned in one of the shlokas. I don't remember that, but this ocean of misery. So if one has faith in Lord Shri Krishna, if one surrenders to Lord Shri Krishna, then this ocean of misery becomes like a what do you say? Like the ocean becomes of the size of the hoof of a calf. You know, there is this cow and a calf. The calf has its leg. The bottom portion of the leg, I think it's called hoof of the calf. The ocean becomes of that size. So the big ocean of misery becomes the size of the hoof of the calf, and then it is so easy. Even a child can jump. Even a child can jump over and cross that ocean. But what is required is you need to have Shraddha, and you need to have a lot of Shraddha, faith in Lord Shri Krishna. You need to surrender to him. You need to accept him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And you need to accept him in this personal form. Right? So, so this is about the Jnanis. So what we saw very briefly. So so we have the Mahatma. Then Srila Prabhupada mentions the Sukritinas. So there are, what we saw is the 4 kind of Sukritinas. And among the Sukritinas, Srila Prabhupada mentions that among the Sukritinas, the one who is distressed, the one who is seeking wealth, the one who is curious, and the Jnanis, Srila Prabhupada mentions that Jnanis are the superior among them. Okay. Now further in this verse, in this shloka, and in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that now this Jnanis, there are 3 more categories of Jnanis. These Jnanis are further subdivided into 3 different categories. Let us analyze that, and this is in relation with today's shloka. Okay, in the shloka, there is this word called Akathwaina. So what does it mean? Akathwaina. It means one who worships himself as one with the Lord. So the first category, so among the Jnanis are further divided into 3 subcategories. Among that first one is Akathwaina, category of Akathwaina. It means one who worships himself as one with the Lord. Okay, so such a type of Jnani is the lowest among 3 kinds of Jnanis that we are going to study. So Akathwaina means one who worships himself as one with the Lord. And this Jnani is the lowest of the 3 kinds of Jnanis. his position is that he knows that I am a spirit soul and I am not the body, but he confuses himself to be one with the Supreme Spirit. So Akathwaina means one who worships himself with himself as one with the Lord. So he knows that he is a spirit soul, but he is getting confused that he is one with the Supreme Spirit. So let us remove this confusion by taking an example from the Shastras. So in the Kathopanishad, there is a beautiful verse which is referenced so multiple times by Srila Prabhupada and other acharyas in explaining the difference between the soul and the super soul. Okay, the spirit and the Supreme Spirit. Okay, so this verse explains the distinction between the spirit soul and the Supreme Lord. So basically both are spiritual in nature. We have already seen that a spirit soul is the superior energy of the Lord and material energy is the inferior energy of the Lord. So the Lord has two main energies. One is the spirit soul, which is considered as the superior energy, and one is the material energy, which is considered as inferior energy compared to the superior energy of the Lord. Okay, and okay, so let's see the shloka of this Kathopanishad. Okay, so the shloka says like this: Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yo vidati kaman. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetanam eko bahunam yo vidati kaman. Okay, so nitya means eternal, right? So nitya means eternal. All spirit souls are eternal. All of us are eternal souls. All spirit souls are eternal. So Krishna is also eternal because he is also spirit soul. So nitya means eternal. All spirit souls are eternal. Krishna is also eternal. But what is the distinguishing feature of Krishna? So Krishna is the supreme eternal. So nitya nam. So there are spirit souls who are eternal, but Krishna is the supreme eternal. Then we have chetanas chetananam. That is, chetana means consciousness, and so all spirit souls have basically have consciousness, but Krishna has supreme consciousness. For example, a living entity, spirit soul is kind of conscious only about himself. So let's say I am a spirit soul. However, I just know only about myself. I know only about the consciousness of myself. I don't know anything about others. But Krishna is Chetanas Chetananam. So Krishna is conscious about each and every living entity. He is the Chetananam. So he is the supreme conscious being, and he is conscious about each and every. He is conscious about himself, plus he is conscious about each and every living entity. So he knows the past, present, and future of each and every spirit soul of living entity, right? So that is the difference. So both Supreme Lord and the living entity are both eternal, Nitya, Nityanam, and they are both cognizant, Chetananam. But the difference is that Eko Bahunam Yo Vidati Kaman. Krishna is supplying the necessities of life for all living entities. That is the supreme position. He is a reservoir. He is the one who is feeding us. He is the one who is maintaining us. He is the one who is supplying us, and and that is why he is a supreme, right? And that is why he is the God. So this difference is very clearly explained. Difference between the spirit soul and the supreme soul, supreme spirit, is very clearly explained by this Kathopanishad shloka, right? So again, coming back to Akathwaina. So Akathwaina is one who worships himself, thinking to be one with the Supreme Lord. So, however, that we saw that as per Kathopanishad shloka, that is incorrect. However, this is still better because, at least he's trying to, he's one step closer. He knows that he is this soul and he is not the material body. So at least he knows that distinction. So it is one step closer to getting to Krishna. but this is also a valid form of worship. So this is form of worship which many people in this material world do today. Okay. Okay. So again, Akathwaina. So again, there is another shloka. I think in there is another shloka in 15.7, which is again very famous shloka. Mamai vamcho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana mana shashtani indriyani prakriti stani karshati. So mamai vamcho jiva loke. So basically what we see here is that living entity is in this material world is an eternal fragmental part and portion of the Supreme, right? So when we are eternal fragmental part and portion, then how can we become equal to God? How can we compare ourselves to the God, right? So we are always going to remain a fragmental portion. So we are an amsha, mamai amsho, jiva loke, right? And therefore the constitutional position of living entity is always to serve the Supreme Lord. The constitutional position of the part is to serve the whole, right? So that's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Jivera Swarupahai Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tathas Shakti Bheda Bhed Prakash, right? So the constitutional position of a living entity is that he is an eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. So this concept of Akathwaina is wrong. Okay, so one cannot worship oneself as the Supreme Lord. So though qualitatively we are same as the Supreme Lord, but there is a lot of other differences, right? He is supreme and we are his servitor. So this is the main difference, and that is our natural constitutional position. Okay, let's move on. The second category of people is that of so this, if you see the second category of people, the word Prathaktvena Bahuda, this is used. So after Akathwaina, you have in the shloka Prathaktvena Bahuda. So what exactly it means is Bahuda means a variety or different. So Prathaktvena, this type of people basically imagine a particular demigod as supreme, and they come under the category of demigod worshippers. So just like if you go to a marriage, just like we go to a marriage, there is a buffet which is set up there. So there are so many items on the buffet. So just like that, and we choose the items which we like. So similar to that, what is happening here is there are a set of people in this material world who will basically choose and imagine a particular demigod to be the supreme, right? And then they will worship that demigod. So basically there is the second category of people, Prathaktvena Bahuda. They come under the category of demigod worshippers. So they are Gyanis, but under Gyanis we have three different subcategories. One is Akathwaina, the second one is Prathaktvena Bahuda. So again, they, based on their choice, they will choose a particular demigod and worship, think that as a supreme and worship that. So in Bhagavad Gita, at multiple places, it has been explained by Lord Shri Krishna that the Lord is supreme and that demigod are his authorized representatives, right? So demigods derive their power from the Supreme Lord. Just like we have the Prime Minister of India, and then we have the Council of Ministers. You know, the Council of Ministers derive all the power, are empowered by the Prime Minister to conduct their duties, right? But all the authority is maintained, is vested with the Prime Minister. Similarly, demigods, we have different ministers who are authorized or empowered by Krishna to conduct various affairs of this universe. For example, we have Indra, which gives the rain, right? So we have Varuna, who you can say as the water resource minister. Then you have Lakshmi Devi, the finance minister. So similarly, you have multiple demigods you have Saraswati can be the education minister, right? So there are multiple demigods who have been empowered by the Supreme Lord to conduct the universal affairs. Okay, so Prathaktvena Bahuda, this category of people, they randomly worship any demigod, which is not very correct, right? Because we saw in Bhagavad Gita in many shlokas and in the example that we mentioned, demigods get their power from the Supreme Lord. So they confuse demigods to be gods, and they do not see any distinction between the Lord and the demigod. So they are on the this type of people are on the platform of mental speculators, because they speculate. Okay, so these are the people who are called Prathaktvena Bahuda. Moving on, the third category of the people. So the third category of the people is Vishwato Mukham. So Vishwato Mukham means they are the Gyanis who consider the universe to be the supreme entity. So they are the Gyanis who consider the universe to be the supreme entity, Vishwato Mukham. They see the Lord's universal form in this manifested universe. And that's why one good thing about this is that at least they worship Krishna, though in the universal form, not in his original form, but at least they worship Krishna. So among the Gyanis, this third category of the people, like Vishwato Mukham, this category are considered to be the top class Gyanis, because they worship Krishna in the universal form. Okay, so how do they worship Krishna in the universal form? So they are, this type of Gyanis are basically also materialistic, and they can relate only to the material plane or material field or material platform. So when they see the material universe, they see different universes. They see the sun, they see the moon, they see the mountains, they see the rivers, and they try to relate this entire cosmic manifestation with the universal form of Lord. So they think that the eyes of the they think the eyes of the Lord to be the sun and the moon. They think the trees are the hairs on the body of the Lord. They think that the rivers are the veins that carry the blood supply in the body of the Lord. So this way they try to relate the form of the material body of the Lord with respect to the cosmic manifestation. So they try to see the cosmic, all the things in the cosmic manifestations, and they try to compare it with the universal form of Lord. That's why it's called Vishwato Mukham. So they are considered to be the better Gyanis of the other two types, of all the three types that we saw: Akathwaina, Prathaktvena, Bahuda, and then you have the Vishwato Mukham. Okay, so these are the three different kind of worshippers. So after Mahatma, you have the Sukritinos. Among the Sukritinos, you have the Gyani. The Gyanis are sub-categorized under these three: Akathwaina, Prathaktvena, Bahuda, and the Sarvato Mukham. Okay. Now, so basically, why is Krishna mentioning about all these people, all these categories of worshippers? Okay, so the question comes, why is Krishna mentioning about all these categories of worshippers? Okay. So basically, the reason why it is being mentioned, why detailed explanation of different categories of worshippers are given, is because that the result they obtain brings out the importance of pure devotional service. So we saw that what is the result obtained by Akathwaina? What is the result obtained by Mahatmas? We saw the result obtained by Sukritinos, the Gyanis, different type of Gyanis, right? So when we compare this different type of worshippers, the importance of pure devotional service is automatically highlighted. Okay, and the best results are basically achieved by doing pure devotional service, and the results achieved by pure devotional service is incomparable to the results that we achieve by other categories of worshippers, right? So that is what basically, and in the next few shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, this importance of pure devotional service will be highlighted more and more, right? So that is the purpose why Krishna has talked about different categories of worshippers here in this chapter. So we have the karma, the jnana, and the bhakti, and then the pure devotional service. So basically, karma means the fruitive worker, right? That is those who are seeking something in return for what they do. So fruitive worker means those who seek something in return for whatever they do. They are after material gain. And when they do fruitive work, they are bound by the reactions of their actions. And therefore, they come back in the cycle of birth and death. So the fruitive workers are the one who are after material gain. They are always looking for some material, something in return, right? And because of that, they are bound in their actions and reactions. And because of that, they come back to this material world in this cycle of birth and death. Then there is this jnanis. The jnanis are, we just saw that they are mental speculators. They are bound by logic and reason, and they do not take the leap of faith, and therefore they are stuck in the material world. They rise above the sensual platform, but they are better than the karmi, but they are caught in the net of their own mental platform, right? So they are always confused. They do not have clarity about anything. They do so much of analysis and speculation that they get more and more confused. Okay, and hence they cannot see Krishna in his pure personal form. So they can only see Krishna in his Vishwato Mukham or Akathwaina or Prataktvena Bahuda forms. Okay, so in the Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami very nicely explains this situation. So I'll read out that shloka. Anya avilashita shunyam gayam karmadi anavritam anukulyena Krishna anushilam bhaktir uttama. Anya avilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anarvitam anukulena Krishna anushilanam bhaktir uttama. So basically what it means is, the definition of bhakti or pure devotional service is that which is uncontaminated by the desire of material gain, which is karma. So if our pure devotional service is uncontaminated by any desire of material gain. So desire of material is gain is what? Karma, right? So when pure devotional service is uncontaminated, and then it is without any speculative knowledge, which is jnana, anavritam means not covered in the purest form. So when the pure devotional service is in its purest form, when it is not done for any material gain, or when it is not having any speculation, at that point it is in its purest form. And anyone who surrenders to the authority of Supreme Lord and renders this loving devotional service, such a person is a pure devotee. This is the definition of pure devotion. So now we know. So it is already mentioned in Shloka 13 and 14 about Mahatmas. So Mahatmas are pure devotees, the topmost level of devotees, right? Satata Kirtana Nam. They are always engaged in pure devotional service, right? And then we have different categories of worshippers. So the reason why Krishna has mentioning different type of worshippers is for us to be aware of what happens, the difference, the benefits that one gets by worshipping, by pure devotional service is incomparable to the benefits that other category of people get, right? So it kind of inspires us to go on the path of bhakti yoga and do pure devotional service. So, with this, I would like to, end today's session. So I'll just summarize before we end. So in this verse, we saw different levels of worshippers after Mahatma. Then there are the Sukritinos. The Sukritinos are of 4 types, which all of us know. So I'll not again repeat it. And then among the Gyanis, there is 3 other categories which we discussed, which is mentioned in this verse number 15. And then in the end, we saw that pure devotional service is the topmost thing that we need to do, we need to accept, right? The benefits of pure devotional service are incomparable to any other category of worshippers. So that is what we saw in today's session. So I would like to end this session today. If anyone has any questions, they can ask me. Or if anyone want to comment, they can please feel free to do. So.
Hare Krishna. If anyone have any questions, they can ask or they can type in the comment box. I can read it over to Prabhu.
So this class was little philosophical class. I thought of other ways of putting some examples, but I could not get the right examples.
Prabhuji, that pure devotional service, what will be the final goal actually for the pure devotional service? What we should, a devotee, what will be the final goal? Example of pure devotional service, Miss Prabhuji, Miss. What we should do actually, Miss. What we should not have any motive, but what we should do, serve a Lord, but for what, Miss? What we have to think that we are serving, Miss. We have to serve Lord, Miss. Keeping in mind what? So that is that what I want to understand, Prabhuji. You got the question, yeah.
Yeah, it's a simple question, but the answer can be very long. So I'll try to explain it in a very shortcut method. So first thing is that we need to accept Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, that is one. We need to have faith that he is Supreme Personality of Godhead. We need to know our constitutional position that we are eternal servitors of Lord Krishna, right? And we should worship Krishna in his personal form of Shyam Sundar, Radha Shyam Sundar, right? So these are the things. Now coming to the practical aspects of this one, there are 4 things that we have to do, then 4 things that we should not do. So 4 things that we should do are like this ABCD kind of a thing. So we should always be in the association of devotees. Okay, then we should always be reading Srila Prabhupada books. So A, B, C, D. We should always be chanting and doing kirtanam, right? And then D is diet. We should always have Krishna Prasadam. So if you do these 4 things, slowly your you will start progressing in the bhakti. So there are 9 different stages of bhakti. So one by one you will go into the next stage. And then there are 4 things that you should not do. The 4 things that you should not do are, you should not do you should follow this 4 regulative principles, which is, you should not involve in gambling, you should not involve in illicit sex, you should not involve with intoxicant, and then you should not involve with meat eating. So if you do this 4 and follow 4 things which you should not do, 4 things that you should do, and then if you have a strong faith and worship the form of Krishna, and if you have the understanding that you are a servant of Krishna, then I think you will slowly progress to the stage of prema. You'll slowly progress to, that is the ultimate stage, is to reach the stage of prema where you love the Lord more than anything. That is the pure unalloyed devotional service, which was exhibited by the gopis of Vrindavan, right? So when you reach that stage of pure devotional service, I don't know, the ultimate aim is to reach that prema level. And also you can go back to God. I mean, it depends on you. If you achieve that prema level, it doesn't matter whether you are in material world or you are in Goloka. You'll always feel that you are in Vaikuntha. So that is, I hope I was able to answer that.
Yes, Prabhuji, got it. Yeah.
Anshuman Prabhu, in addition to what Giridhar Prabhu told, so what you should be doing. So at the start, like if you see the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada, he used to engage all the devotees in what the thing they are good at. So for example, some devotees are good at painting. So Srila Prabhupada engaged them in painting for the Lord. Some devotees were good in cooking. So Srila Prabhupada engaged them in cooking for the Lord. So similarly, whoever was good at what service, Prabhupada used to engage him in that service. So someone is good at architecture, so Prabhupada engaged them in building the temples, like that. So similarly, you also, everyone, all of us have some good qualities which can be utilized in the service of Lord. So something can be your hobby, something can be your passion, maybe singing, maybe your passion. So you can improve upon that skill and use that in service of the Lord, do the kirtan of the Lord. So like that, whatever is pleasing to you, you can start doing that for the Lord. And slowly and gradually the stage will come where you can do any service for the Lord. And that is a natural stage. So all the senior devotees, you can see that they can be engaged in any service and they can do it perfectly, because they develop that instantaneous loving devotion for the Lord, by which they can perform at any level. But at the start, we can, whatever we are good at, whatever we like, that service we can do for the Lord. And that is what and with that service, with that skill, we should try to please the Lord. So that way every one of us can please the Lord, and that should be our attitude at the beginning, Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhuji. Got it.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I have one question, Prabhuji. You are saying that Dhyanis are superior than other three, means Arti, Artartu, and Jignas. So, how, Prabhuji, means what is the reason?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? So basically what happens here is there is when we analyze the other three persons, let's say one who is distressed. Okay, so one who is distressed doesn't have a strong faith. I mean, so his only purpose right now is to ensure that his distress is resolved, right? So he takes up to Krishna to kind of resolve his distress. Once his distress is resolved, he's not bothered. He will move away. He will continue to do his material activities, right? So that is one. Then similarly, then there is a jignasu, and there is this category of artharthi. Artharthi is those who are seeking wealth. So you are seeking wealth, you are on the actually on the karmic level, but only difference is that he's to seek wealth, to gain wealth, he's approaching Krishna. So that is the only good thing about this one. But again, once he gets his wealth, he may or may not become a devotee of Krishna. The chances are less. So however, for Gyanis, so they want to inquire, they want to get this knowledge. And if we basically give them the proper knowledge, they can, if we give them the proper knowledge, which is all there in the Shastras, so they also read the Shastras, but they use their own brains and speculate and then get their own interpretations. They don't read the Shastras in the association of devotees. They don't read the Shastras under the guidance of the Acharyas. If they do so, then their faith is also their faith will also increase, and then they have a higher chance of becoming a devotee. And this is also mentioned. So when a Jnani, Jnani, if you engage him in devotional service, his this disease of mental speculation will slowly go away. And that's why, since they have a higher chance of becoming a devotee, they are called superior to the other three categories. But good question. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Chetan Prabhu, is that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Any other questions that any of you are having? You can raise it with Giridhar Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Pransakhi Mataji, or any devotee, anything that you want to say, any announcements?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. About the Vaikuntha Ekadashi, can announce. Devotees are going for, a few devotees are going for book distribution. So if anybody would like to join, they can contact Saravanan Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you. Hare
Yes.
Krishna.
So we
It
have
will
a
be
very
on,
wonderful opportunity for book distribution on the coming Vaikuntha Ekadashi. So any devotee who this time who have not done individually the book distribution, there is a very good chance that those devotees who are going to different temples for book distribution, they can join them. They can give their name to me or to Sarvanan Prabhu, whoever want to volunteer for Vaikuntha Ekadashi book distribution. And we will try to allocate them one devotee who can with them, who they can help in book distribution on Vaikuntha Ekadashi, and that will bring lot of auspiciousness in their life by serving Lord. Hare Krishna. Shamnan Prabhu, anything from you, sir?
Yeah, bro. Just wanted to thank Giridhar Gopal Prabhu for wonderful class and enlightening us on the knowledge of Sukritinas and all of that aspect that you covered, Prabhu. Very nice. Thank you for that. Let's all chant one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra for to thank Giridhar Gopal Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
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 Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama,
Rama
Hare Hare.
Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So as Mataji announced, this coming 13th January is Vaikuntha Ekadasi, Putrada Ekadasi. In our Sampradaya, we call it as Putrada Ekadasi. Actually, fast break is next day, 14th Jan, 6:45 to 10:34. So I'll put it in the chat box as well. So fast break is next day. That is something I wanted to inform. Yeah. So whoever wanted to do book distribution, and they can either message me or Gaurav Prabhu or Aparajit Prabhu. Any of us, you can message.
Thanks, Prabhu. So for because of again rise in COVID 19 virus Omicron, so we'll not be having any program in the center for some of the upcoming weeks. We will be having online programs as only. So would request all the devotees to join in on time, take participation onto the program. And if you are good at doing kirtan, then give your name to Shavnan Prabhu, and you will get the slot from evening 4 to 4:30 for performing kirtan for the Lord. And if any devotee is interested in performing Aarti of the Lord, they can also give their name to me or Shavnan Prabhu, and we'll arrange online Aarti as well from their home for the pleasure of Lord. Hare Krishna. So thanks all the devotees for your association, and thanks Giridhar Prabhu for the wonderful class. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank
Dandavad
you.
pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji and Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.